Doom on PC needs no introduction. It's one of the most important games to be released in the first-person shooter genre, as well as a landmark title that inspired the design for many of them to come. Doom on the 32X probably does need an introduction. It was the second console port of Doom to be developed following the Jaguar version, though despite that would end up being the first port of Doom to be released before the Jaguar version, albeit only because of how it was rushed out to release, to be a launch title for the Mega Drive's 32X add-on. In light of being the first console port of Doom, it certainly has its place in history, but it doesn't have a whole lot else, being known for a little more these days than being a rushed and generally lacking port of the game. Though at least still somewhat playable compared to some other console ports from the time. Evidently, it seems that even the devs themselves considered Doom on 32X to be a little lacking, given the recent prototypes that have surfaced over the years of a supposed Doom RR, which are dated after the final version of 32X Doom but otherwise contain no noticeable differences. We certainly could take a moment to wonder how this enhanced version of Doom 32X could have looked like, but fortunately there's no need to wonder that, as a dedicated fan by the name of Fickius has taken it upon themselves to completely remake the 32X version of Doom, to make it more in line with the Jaguar version it was originally based upon, and adding further enhancements on top of that, giving it the new name of Doom 32X Resurrection. So, what does Resurrection change exactly? Well, I suppose the most immediately obvious thing to mention would be the music. Doom 32X is certainly infamous for its lackluster interpretations of the original game's songs, to put it lightly, which is why one Spoony Bard was brought in to remix the songs to sound more like the original game, and to just sound better, plain and simple. But don't just take my word for it, have a listen to them for yourself. On top of these existing revamped songs, the soundtrack also extends to include the songs for the levels past episode 1. But perhaps, let's say, this revamped version of the soundtrack still doesn't satisfy you. In such a case, this hack still has you covered. Or if you have a Sega CD attachment for your Mega Drive, then you can stick a CD into it and the game will be able to read that for its soundtrack. And the customization options don't stop there either. By default, the game garners significantly improved processing speed over the original Furry 2X version by handling rendering across both SH2 processors, now allowing the game to reach a more or less consistent 30 FPS within an average circumstance. But if you'd perhaps like to alter the game's processing or graphical capabilities further, then the game gives you options to do that. The game gives you 5 different resolutions to choose from, 3 of which are in low 2-pixel modes, and 2 of which are in high detail modes. On top of which, the game also gives you 3 different rendering modes for the game's geography. The default rendering mode is comparable to the original Furry 2X version, albeit with somewhat enhanced lighting on the sprites. But on top of this, you're also able to select a potato mode, as it's so christened, which makes the game look similar to the Super Nintendo version by removing the textures for the floors and ceilings, as well as a high graphics mode, so to speak, which employs the original fading light rendering from the original Doom on PC. Though it doesn't look 100% accurate to the original PC version, which can be attributed to the color palette limitations of the Mega Drive, even when accounting for the Furry 2X. One particularly big addition that Resurrection makes to the game is the addition of save RAM support. Like the original PC version, you can save to one of 8 available save slots, which will keep track of your finished levels, health, armor, weapons, and ammo. Though additionally, the game will also autosave at the end of a level when completed. In addition to these quality of life features, the game has also had many changes made to it to make it more in line with the Jaguar version, which the original Furry 2X version was based on, which includes using the original HUD assets from the Jaguar version, restoring the monster sprite directions from the Jaguar version, which also allows there to be infighting between the monsters again, as well as the reinstatement of several levels from the Jaguar version that were left inaccessible in the Furry 2X version. These 7 unused levels could originally be accessed in the default version through a hack known as the 24-level expansion pack by Saxman. Although that hack simply only gave you the ability to access those levels, in particular making no attempt to alter the level Unholy Cathedral, which would immediately crash upon being selected due to taking up too much memory for the Furry 2X to handle. Resurrection makes alterations to the level to allow it to run properly, as well as fixes to other levels in the game, typically intended to fix some broken object placement, or otherwise make a slight improvement to the original level. In conclusion, it must be stated how impressive and useful this patch is. While I, of course, can't reasonably say this makes the Furry 2X version superior to the PC one, and certainly not superior to the remasters available on Switch and PC, you definitely gotta give the creator of this patch props for improving on the original port as much as he has. It's certainly a bit of a spectacle, and makes me hopeful for what can be done for the Doom modding community in the future. Certainly I hope, given the hardware similarities between the Furry 2X and the Saturn, that this can pave the way for an enhanced version of Doom's Saturn port, which it really also desperately needs. But as it stands, if you want to play Doom, and you don't want to play it on PC, or Switch, or any other convenient method to play, but really just the 32X version for some reason, then the 32X Resurrection patch is indubitably the best way to play.